Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dead Cells. Today we're going to be checking out a very strange and interesting build. The idea for it actually comes from a post on 1.8, but due to the change to ice shards, I figured it would be fun to try to, do it on the alpha branch. Maybe make it a little more efficient. So the idea of the builds, if you haven't seen it, or if you can't tell from what we've got right now, it's Rapier comboed with ice shards. In order to be constantly applying slows, being able to proc a certain mutation called Heart of Ice and drastically reduce cooldowns. The reason for this combo is the fact that the Rapier just attacks so quickly, and the cooldown reduction on for Heart of Ice happens on every melee hit. So right now it's not going to do anything because we don't have the mutation, and even if we did have it, we have like no stats, so it's only going to reduce by like a fraction of a second. And you're probably immediately thinking, as was I, how the heck is this build gonna work if Rapier is off color? Are you just gonna have a useless one unless you get like a good luck in a curse chest? Well, the answer is yes and no. Whether we get one in a curse chest or not, the build itself is all about reducing your cooldowns, so you can use something like Giant's Whistle basically every 3 seconds, as long as you're constantly attacking enemies and reapplying the slows. It's really, really good for clearing out regular enemies. It starts to scale up like in the mid game. So like the ossuary basically. I don't know if you count that the mid game. I'd say the mid game is like the Stilt Village. But well, actually, maybe with the reduced stats, it doesn't really reach its full potential until that point. But anyway, even with just base damage right now, sorry about that little graphical bug, by the way. These tiny things. I don't really know what's going on with that. Blame it on the alpha, I guess. But yeah, because when Heart of Ice maxes out, or when it maxes out to a point where you get like enough survival to make it reach like maximum cooldown reduction, it reduces cooldowns by about 3 seconds on hit. And I mean, you've already seen like how fast this Rapier attacks with all these little hits, so it's like 12 seconds every full combo basically of reduction, and it's super good. Now, of course, because bosses have resistances, this build is really, really bad for bosses. Because, they'll gain slow resistance super fast and you won't be able to actually do the damage. But, it might be worth for how good it is at clearing out regular enemies. Also, I've noticed that rats are super densely packed. If you can see that like little flock of skulls under the mini-map there. That's just like all rats. I'm okay with that though, because I'm pretty sure they reduced the rate of Guardian spawns to get more rats in. And that's much appreciated, because Guardians can be pretty annoying to deal with since they block the first hit and are generally a bit tankier than a lot of the enemies on the first floor. But I still love those Chonky Oven Knights. They're, design-wise, I think they're my favorite enemy. And I do think they're super neat, like their whole gimmick going on, just really annoying in execution. But see, even with 4, we've already got a 1.5 cooldown reduction on every melee attack. So it's ranking up. Also, I don't know if I said this in the beginning of the intro because I kind of sped through it. But of course I'm going to leave a link to the Reddit post where I got this from in the description, and I might have already put it on screen when I had like the earliest opportunity. Because of course I got to give recognition to the person I got the idea from, even if I didn't copy it exactly. Got to give credit where credit's due. Because this is a really fun build for clearing through all the regular enemies, like I said. It's kind of just really funny to watch how fast everything goes as well. But it does get off to a slow start, because you do need all of that like scaling with the cooldown reduction and everything. But you can see like it's reducing the cooldowns pretty decently quickly already. It's definitely nothing to sneeze at. And for the majority of this, the ice shards are actually going to be like our main source of DPS, I guess. Well, I mean, our main source of DPS in terms of the weapons we're using. Obviously, the cooldowns that we're working with are going to be our main source of damage, constantly reducing them, as is the entire theme and core of the build. But, you know, that being said, definitely is a good idea to try to, like, just to facilitate some early non-skill DPS, because you can't realistically have them up 24/7 from right off the bat. Like, even that's a little crazy. Like, right there, just shredding all that cooldown, getting them off cooldown, like, basically right after I just used them. Super, super fun. But yeah, it's a good idea to try to get, like, oil on your rapier, like spreads inflammable oil, because obviously it's not scaling with your damage, so it doesn't matter what like actual affixes it has. It's never really going to do good damage. So you want to try to use it to facilitate like getting the crits off of your ice shards, even though they reduce the crit damage of ice shards in favor of returning it to its no ammo state as it used to be. It still will do more damage than the off-color rapier. I don't think I realized that until like later on in the run though, but that's fine. For now, just the base damage of ice shards is pretty much enough to get through, as long as, you know, I've got my cooldowns being reduced so drastically. It's also just super fun to watch, like, everything, just how fast everything's going, like constantly chucking out the rapier and the ice shards. And of course, I really like these not two-hand, if anything, it's the opposite. It'd be like half-hand, or something like that, where you bind two things to the same weapon, or two weapons to the same hand, at the same button, and then just, like, go at it. Because I did a couple builds like this for the like the alpha and everything, and just it made it pretty difficult to get used to having like an actual offhand weapon like Hokuto's or a shield. Oof, got clipped to the spike there. But it's so much fun in the moment. I feel like it's worth it. You can always do a couple practice runs to get back in the swing of things with my parry timings. And such parry timings, and remembering to apply like Hokuto's and other DPS upgrades, which is pretty good. Oh yeah, another thing that would be good in a build like this, if it weren't for the fact that you need your skills to be like purely damage, because of how little damage like the rest of the build does. I would say the new tonic would actually be pretty good. I was just messing around with it earlier, and it's really good. It doesn't seem like it'd be that good, because, you know, it doesn't heal anymore. But then you just, like, you really start to think about all the stuff that it has, like, tacked onto it. And then you're like, wait a minute. This doesn't need to heal anymore. This is so freaking good, even without the healing. Because, like, and in a way it is sort of like a healing skill, in the same sense that Berserker can be considered sort of a healing mutation by providing malaise resistance. Because if you have malaise resistance, then you can consume infected food without actually getting infected. And you can do that with tonic. It has malaise resistance. Granted, you might have to wait a while because it has like a long, it's like 20+ second cooldown. But, you know, for the sake of efficiency and getting those heals, it's probably worth just waiting and just chilling out for a bit. It's always... You can always justify slowing down, as long as you're not going for time doors or trying to to make entertaining content, in which case you want to go quickly so that you don't run out your conversation topics and such. Yeah. Mostly just, like, it doesn't really matter what kind of rapier you pick up. The difference in damage isn't going to be a big deal. So it's the affixes that are important. And by the affixes, I mean the one affix, pretty much. Ah, nice. I forgot that Baguette was there. Get a nice quickie heal. Get into a better position. Well, not 100% HP better position, because I decided to take the route through the spikes instead of the safe one. But it's close enough. It's like only 7%. That's no biggie. Especially when the HP is as small as it is right now. So of course you want to look for like better versions of the items, your skills ASAP. Although it is very important to have higher damage ice shards and a colorless rapier if you happen to be fortunate enough to find such a thing. Which, you know, it's not an everyday occurrence, but pretty cool if it does. I mean, my luck is pretty good, so I might just get one in the first chest, which would be pretty darn sweet. Nope. Haha. I fooled you. You expected it to happen because I talked about it. But no, in fact, it did not. Will it ever happen over the course of the run? You don't know. Well, that's fine. Because, if anything, it's kind of good that it didn't happen because, well, I'd rather have... Partially because I'd rather have the higher tier one that you get later in the game. You know? Like, because if I got a colorless rapier right off the bat and never got one again, then it would be like, sure, it's colorless and way better than a regular one. But at the same time, it's not really going to do much of anything when I get to like the real late game, you know? And of course, now that we're hitting tankier enemies, we're getting this weird sort of situation where it feels like we're not doing any damage because of the rapier being off color and the ice shards being like almost entirely used for slow utility instead of damage now. But at the same time, longer they live, more hits you get in, closer you get to the giant's whistle, closer you get to the powerful grenade. Constantly chunking through them with stuff like that. Your overall DPS is relatively unchanged from a regular run in these scenarios. Giant's Whistle is a little bit weak at the moment. I mean, not really. It's just the fact that our stats are semi-low. That's fine. It's basically, if Giant's Whistle can't one-shot a non-elite enemy, then it's weak compared to what I know it's capable of. Maybe they buffed the HP of hammers or something like that. Or maybe they forgot to turn them down. I don't know. They definitely seem like a little bit more tanky than they normally do, even though they were always tanky. I just remember like a Giant's Whistle at this level normally doing stuff like that. Oh, and we do have spreads inflammable oil on the slam down. So that provides a little bit of extra DPS for our ice shards critting. Nothing to sneeze at, even if it's mostly not that significant. Yeah, I think the... well, he went flying. I can't tell if the... oh, well, the 60 hits, like, I'm trying to read the small white numbers. I think the 60 hits are the rapier, and like the 200 or whatever are the ice shards, maybe? Or no, actually, maybe not. I'm unsure, in all honesty. It might become more clear when we get consistent oil, because then I'll be able to tell, like, yellow is the ice shards, and then white would be the rapier. But for now, it remains a mystery. Mostly because I don't really know how ice shards applies its damage. If it can only hit, like, with one... if it only can hit one target with the same, like, volley, you know? In the sense that, like, it throws out 3 little ice shards at the same time, but I don't know if they can all hit the same target, because it kind of doesn't seem like they do. It seems like they either pierce or like go over it or something like that. Or like through it, I mean. But yeah, the slow is super strong as well. I know I've probably made it very clear that I do not know how to play around slowed enemies. Because over many occasions I've kind of just like I've tried to work with like the melee mutation, but it just ends up making me get hit because I've got my parry timings all messed up, or like my dodge timings in general. But the easiest way to get over that is to just be taking stuff that slows constantly, so every enemy is slowed and I'll just have to get used to it. I'm okay with that. I'm trying to improve, always, so getting more consistent stuff would be good. Also, I took Dead Inside and Necromancy combo, because even though they capped Necromancy at 50% health healing, I figure taking Dead Inside and Necromancy always being at 50% HP when you got the plus 50% bonus is like, maybe it evens out and is like not almost as good as it used to be, but you'll be in a position where you're not really going to get one shot because you're decently tanky with survival stats and stuff. But at the same time, with the reduced stats in terms of health, I don't know if that's still the case. And I do understand that there were balance changes put into like the enemy health and damage in order to make it not so punishing, of course. It's just that, like, I still feel like the numbers are gonna have to be tweaked. The numbers in regards to like either enemy stats or the amount of stat scrolls you get in the first couple areas in the early game. I mean, everything on the alpha is subject to change, so I figure something like that is probably going to be changed. Some things never change, like me stabbing Thornies in the back because I get too overzealous and just charge through everything without thinking. But yeah, the difference in DPS between ice shards with and without crits is pretty substantial. It's not like amazing DPS either way, because it's only like 900 at this stage in the game. But it's better. It's better than it would be. Oh, heck yeah. There's the colorless rapier. Let's go. So this already just like kicks the run up by a huge margin. Because the thing is, even if like we don't get another rapier and we just have to use this one for the whole game, it's still gonna be so much better than any other off-color rapier. Not as bad as it would be in the other one in 1.8, because you don't have to worry about it having the wrong stats and reducing your damage by that much. But like, see, geez, that's a huge amount of burst right there. Granted, it was a huge amount of burst because of the powerful grenade and the Giant's Whistle mostly. But you know, Rapier got some jabs in. It's pulling its weight. It's not a terrible weapon. Rapier actually is one of the weapons that I was meaning to use, like in a video, but I just never really got around to it because it just doesn't seem that interesting, I guess. I mean, it is interesting. I like the concept of it. It's just I really don't know why I was always just like, maybe later. Maybe I'll make a video on it later. Well, I guess it's also partially because I don't want to make any more no commentary videos, you know? Just kind of, I feel like it'd be better for overall just to have like commentary videos instead. And normally I would be all down for an off-color flamethrower turret, but this is about like burst, not the sustained DPS. So I would probably swap it out like later. Although in retrospect it actually might have been a nice idea to take that against the concierge, because once he runs out, or once his slow resistance goes all the way and I won't be able to hit him with my stuff anymore, then I'd be able to, like, you know, I'd be able to have some sustained damage. Also, this is still post-commentary, so that's why I was talking about maybe I should take it like right as I was selling it. Just because, you know, it's post-commentary is a lot easier for me to do than the live commentary, because if I have to like leave in the middle of a run, I don't like, you know, reset my voice preparation, I guess. I like fall out of the swing of stuff, and then it's hard to pick up and be able to play while talking at the same time, at the same sort of frequency and consistency that I normally would be able to. So I don't know, I feel like there's not much difference in post-commentary and live commentary, except for the fact that there aren't all those annoying like keyboard clacks, me punching my freaking spacebar, and all my frantic mouse clicking, and also me going like this because I'm like in the middle of a fight and I can't really like focus. Everything sounds like it's getting choked out, you know, stuff like that. I feel like this is just more of a calm and enjoyable experience. But if I'm wrong, I would appreciate some, you know, some stuff or people voicing like what kind of content they want to see. Because at the end of the day, like, I want to be entertaining. That's the whole point of like having a channel, is to be entertaining. So gotta give people what they want to see. And if that's me like joking with live commentary and it just not being like as clean, then, you know, I'm fine with that. Legendary Giant's Whistle. Very nice. Now, being the dumb baby boy that I am, I completely forgot about the fact that if I have a legendary, I can swap out the thing in my second slot, and I can have two of the same. Although actually, now that I think about it, and I see the situation over again, I'm pretty sure my thought process was actually, I know I could do that, but at the same time, I feel like I'm at the point right now where I need a powerful grenade to clear through groups of enemies while reserving the Giant's Whistle for like the bigger ones. I guess. That seems familiar enough of a thought that it was something that may have in fact happened at such a moment. But I think it's wrong. I think I should have gotten double Giant's Whistles right off the bat, because it's funny, you know? Because it's funny to hear the tweet twice, the triple tweet, quadra tweet. Nah, just double. If only I could swap out my my two main hand weapons for more Giant's Whistles, you know I would in a heartbeat. Because we all love the tweet. Actually, my favorite part about Giant's Whistle... Oh yeah, and I purposely passed up that croissant earlier because I was waiting to get to 50% HP with my... Oh, but then it doesn't matter because I have Dead Inside. Never mind. Still, I'm trying to get into that habit so that I don't waste food. Where was I? Oh yeah, my favorite thing about Giant's Whistle, I really like it when the giant laughs when he does his punch, because like the Giant's Whistle has like different sound clips. I don't think they play for any specific reason. I think it's just random, but it's like sometimes the whistle sounds different. Sometimes the giant laughs like like a hearty little chuckle after punching up someone into oblivion, and it's really fun. It's one of my favorite things about it. It's also just big number, and without having to like aim it, it's fun. So, as you can see, or as you'll be able to see in a second, the beginning of this concierge fight is very strong because he's very slow, and I can just rack up all these powerful grenades and Giant's Whistles. But then he becomes slow immune, and the DPS drops dramatically. Thankfully, we still got the ice shard crits to make it significantly better. And I could be throwing ice shards from range, but I'm a little bit worried about like the Rapier attack animation getting me stuck while I'm trying to dodge his fire trail. So I'm playing things a little more safely, trying to see if I can get the flawless, maybe get a better legendary Rapier. But then that happens, so nope. Still, I think I'm probably playing safely so I don't take any unnecessary damage, seeing as I'm already down to 45%, which is not the greatest position, but it's where I have to be with new Necromancy. And I do understand the Necromancy nerfs. It was... oh, that was a bad roll, me. It was a little bit overtuned with the fact that it had, like, great malaise resistant, or great malaise reduction, while also having great healing. It was just, like, too good. I feel like it would be, like, perfect. I feel like it would have been maybe a good balance change to, like, remove the malaise reduction from Necromancy, but then make another mutation that, like, gets rid of it. Or maybe change, like, the, maybe change up the... because I really don't like the passive for extended healing, where it's like a chance that you get the healing flask, or the little cough syrups from elites, because I don't like RNG. That's not fun. Like, everything that you try to do in Dead Cells is to mitigate RNG so that you don't get into these positions where everything is based on, like, how lucky you get. And, like, there are some runs where I get, like, cough syrup every time I kill an elite. Some runs where I just get nothing and it feels like a dead mutation. So I think maybe if, like, swapping out the extended healing passive with the, like, get 5 reduced when you kill a boss, or maybe even, like, rework extended healing or something like that. I mean, I do kind of like the extended healing's, like, active effect too. I don't know. There are probably reasons why the devs haven't, done something like that already, just based on, like, how they want to balance the game and stuff like that, and I respect it. I'm not gonna sit here saying, me as someone who's never tried to, like, rebalance Dead Cells, whether it's in, like, the form of a mod or as an actual game developer, I can't talk like I know what would be best for the game. I can just speculate about what I personally think might be a good change, or at least what sounds like a good change in the moment. But even then, like, my own preferences when it comes to how, like, game mechanics and stuff like that is probably, like, it's too specific and niche and, like, vastly different from the overall not experience, but, like, the overall demographic of players. So I can't say just because I think something would be better would mean that it's better for the game and that everyone else would feel the same way. But I still like thinking about stuff that could, like, make the game seem better, or at least, like, a more enjoyable experience for me. Even if I don't think, like, I want those changes to... or even if I'm not, like, I really need these changes to actively go through, or I'm not gonna have fun, or something stupid like that, no. It's just fun to think about. Because I like thinking about, like, all the statistical stuff and what they change from patch to patch. That's why I love playing on alpha versions and stuff like that. And that's why I was pretty bummed that the game kept crashing on the other alpha, the alpha of 1.8, because I really wanted to get in and see, like, the changes, but it just would not let me do anything. And it seemingly crashed for no reason, because it'd be like I wouldn't actually interact with anything, and it wasn't like I was using any, and I also actively avoided using stuff with the new affixes just to see if I could get, like, the game to keep going, but then they just crashed anyway. Because I remember from watching, like, Doc Firebird's videos and stuff like that, also Retromation, because he played a little bit on the alpha when he was doing his Dead Cells series. Apologies for slurring the two S's together, I think. But yeah, he had some issues with the emergency door, and Doc had some issues with like the new grenade affix on some turrets, where it was like they would drop a grenade when they die or something like that. Or maybe I'm getting them mixed up. I don't know. I definitely watched people have issues with those two things. I don't think it really matters who did. But yeah, so I was trying to keep the experience as vanilla as possible, but it just kept crashing anyway, even when I wasn't interacting with any of the new enemies or anything like that. It's just a yikes. That's a yikes for me, dog. Sorry. I don't want to take this build up against the giant, because for my experience, well, aside from the fact that the giant is heavily resistant to burst due to the fact that both of his hands have their own damage caps, like their own boss damage caps, and I don't feel like the Rapier Ice Shard combo is going to be enough to take them down consistently. So I'm heading into the clock tower to fight the timekeeper. Also because I want to see if there's a difference between like the clock tower and the sepulcher, because I read that they did in fact change some stuff like that. Like they swapped, if I remember correctly, they swapped out the what is it, the fragments, the scroll fragments in each level, or in between those two levels. I think I read that in the patch notes. I don't remember exactly how many scroll fragments were in each level though, so I don't know how much of a difference it makes. But, you know, that's what we're here to see. And I think it's about time to swap out the powerful grenade for a death orb. Mostly just because, like, I want to see if it's possible to get multiple death orbs out on the screen at the same time with all this cooldown reduction. Normally something that isn't possible, but if there's any time to test it, it'd be this run today. Because, you know, it would be interesting to see if you could get, like, a situation where they sort of converge on each other. You know, like they go in different directions and something gets caught in the middle, it gets double DPS. I don't know, I think that could be pretty cool. If it works. And not having Masochist in the clock tower can be kind of scary just because of how many spikes are all over the place. Because I know, well, I know normally spikes deal a ton of damage, especially in the late game, but I'm not sure how much it'd still be with Dead Inside. Because, like, with how the, well, with the lowered stats, lowered HP and everything. Also, I did get to see the Death Orb when I spawned the second one. It canceled the first one, so yeah, that doesn't work like that. And no way the off-color Rapier would be better than this one. The automatons are going to be annoying, of course. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if the spikes will like one-shot me even with Dead Inside and Survival, but I'm hoping they don't. I don't really remember. Not sure if they tweaked that damage as well to make up for the lack of health. But I do like the clock tower. It's got a nice theme. I generally prefer the Sepulcher just because, like, well, I don't know, it's just, it feels a little faster sometimes because it's more like, there are a bunch of like rows of enemies instead of like having to jump up the castle, or not the castle, but like up the tower and stuff. Can be a little annoying sometimes. Because I mean there is also the, if I'm doing a tactics run where I'm trying to make use of alienation, or I guess just any run where I'm trying to make use of alienation consistently, then obviously I'm going to go for the Sepulcher because it has another curse chest. Oh yeah, another reason I like the Sepulcher better is because it lets me go fight the giant instead of the Timekeeper in some builds. And I think this is the point where I'm actively looking for a Giant's Whistle because I want to get the two of them. Now that I dropped the grenade for Death Orb, and I'm just like, I mean, Death Orb's good, but I don't really want to be using it that much if I can help it. Especially because, you know, fighting the Timekeeper, the damage cap is a little less significant than it would be against the giant, even though of course like her health pool is pretty low. So I'm going to be losing a lot of DPS from the whistles. But at the same time, it's less than it would be against the giant's hands. And when she's slow, it seems like it'd be easier to get hits off both. It seems like it'd be easier to get hits off than it would be against the giant because you have to like jump up and hit his hands too. Just seems like the right place to go for a build like this. And yeah, Ice Shards is doing like okay damage. It's nothing amazing, but with how quickly I can throw it all out and constantly reapplying the oil with that. Oof. Okay, so okay, so the spikes do a lot, but they don't do anywhere near as much as like I'd expect them to. That's fine, because Necromancy can still get us up to 50% HP as long as I don't screw up anymore. And that's good. I've been thinking that the new Necromancy kind of synergizes with the new tonic in a sense. Partially because like it'll let you eat more food to make up for the amount of HP that you have after reaching the cap, but also because you'll always have, or not always, but you'll most often have that 50% missing health, and then you get giving you like a 25% max HP shields whenever you use tonic, which is, you know, pretty substantial. That'll block like a hit. There's the other Giant's Whistle, so now we can start dual wielding. Apologies if you don't like the whistle sound, because you're going to hear it a lot. But it's going to be fun. Fun for me, anyway. Because I really like Giant's Whistle. Waiting on the... waiting to hear the special clip that I like where the giant laughs. My favorite. Looks like the frames are chugging just a little bit. Or they're dropping. Sorry about that. Anything left in the level to check out? There's a baguette down there, but I'm already at 0 melees, so no need to go back for it. Can fight the Timekeeper. I think her slow resistance is a lot less than the other bosses, so should be able to get a decent amount in, or a decent amount of her health done before she gains resistances. And obviously I'm going to be switching up my builds. Got to keep Heart of Ice because that's the whole thing. And yeah, the only real difference is taking disengagement, because I really like having disengagement for bosses, just because I can easily get burst down and before I get the chance to use my sorry, I just really like the whistles in unison, and that's always bad. You see, I'm trying to roll through these throwing stars, but what I should be doing is jumping over them so that I can roll over the next attack she throws. It's just I'm used to having like a shield or something where it's like roll then parry, and stuff like that. See, now I'm getting like into the swing of it, sort of. Still got hit, but it's not quite as bad. Trying to decide, I think I'm trying to decide like at this point if I should be trying to like get in with the Rapier and hit her or just wait out the cooldowns. Either way, it's not a clean fight at all, but just trying to like get through it after not being able to use my things. So yeah, I'm gonna take a flash charge here, but that's not the end of the world. As long as I don't have to use one in the castle, I should be in a great position to beat the hand in the rest of the run. Should be all nice and fine. The Giant's Whistles are definitely going to be helpful for dealing with the bigger enemies like the broadsword guys. I think they're called Guardian Knights, which now that I think about it is probably one of the reasons why Guardians are getting their names changed to Oven Knight, apparently. Or Oven Knights, I mean. Because they already have Guardian Knights. So, you know. Guardian Knights, a little too similar. And Guardian Knights were here first, so they get to keep the name. It seems like. Well, that's fine. I really like the name Oven Knights. I do. Because I love their little furnace stomachs. Furnace chests. They're so squat and chonky and great. Really fun designs. Yeah, this sort of thing is great at taking out elites, so none of them are going to be an issue, except maybe the Thorny if I just like if I just decide to basically attack it in the back for no reason, I guess. Yeah, that's even with the slow, I feel like it's cutting it a little close to try to get those guys with just the Rapier and ice shards. Not the greatest amount of DPS. Thankfully though, double Giant's Whistle is like a huge amount of DPS. Yeah, and I like how the sound layers over it too, so it's just like a really loud whistling sound. Very piercing though. It's good. Yeah, the ability to just like get those Royal Guards right out of there, and the Guardian Knights too, it's greatly appreciated. And also, even though I'm hitting the whistles at like basically the same time, the second one, whichever one's like slightly slower, just doesn't get its cooldown if the first one would kill the enemy, which is pretty cool, considering how long of a cooldown it is. I mean, the cooldowns don't really matter that much in this build, but still, it's a nice feature to know that that's there, trying to guard my cooldowns, not having me waste them. Nice quality of life little interaction there. Yeah, the Ice Shard slow is really, really strong. I'm not sure if slowed down is the same like for all sources of slowdown, or if some are stronger than others. It's difficult to tell because a lot of the games I've played in the past have different slowdown values, even if they don't specify whether it's like a 30% slow or a 70% slow. Or just melee? No, wait. I'm trying to remember if like the melee mutation actually how much it slows by is changed by the brutality factor you have, or if it's only the length of time for which they are slowed. That's something I'll have to do some research into later, because I am pretty darn curious. Now that I've set the question out for myself, I would like to know the answer. Soon enough. Yeah, this this build is, it's certainly something. Really just makes all of the actual levels, like getting through them, pretty trivial. Because, you know, the enemies are slowed so long they can't even hit you. And you slow them before you even get into melee range, because ice shards have like an extra sort of range to it. And stuff like that. So they really just don't get the chance to do anything before your giant's whistle's off cooldown, just wrecking them. So I guess, you know, if you're the kind of player who struggles with dealing with like regular enemies but can dodge boss patterns forever without having to worry about getting hit, no matter how low your actual weapon DPS is, if, you know, that is such a thing, such a situation that a person could find themselves in, maybe this build would be great for you. But from where I'm standing, it just seems like a fun romp to like power trip on the regular enemies, and then it kind of not so great against the bosses. It does annoy me. It annoys me that bosses can have such like resistances, and only because I don't like how it messes with these fun combos. But at the same time, like, this would be actually broken if you could do that and just like constantly farm cooldown on the bosses. It might be nice if like the length of time for, or maybe if like basically they would build up the resistances, but after a certain amount of time in the fight, they would like, maybe the resistances would lower or like it would reset or something. Just because, like, you have such a short window to actually work with those slows and freezes and stuff on like the hand fight. Because I mean, that guy builds up resistances to CC so freaking quickly, it's insane. But I get it, like, bosses should be hard if you can constantly be slowing them and freezing them. It would make their patterns easier to learn, I guess. Not for me after building up all that muscle memory. Slowing the bosses makes it harder for me to dodge still. But, you know, I can see it. And I didn't really have any reason to swap out the ice shards, but I didn't really have any reason to keep the ones I had either. There's no real situation in which it matters. Oh yeah, and I'm re-rolling here to try to find bonus damage to slowed down target. But I'm starting to think that that isn't a thing you can get on like a power like the Giant's Whistle. I think it's you can only get it on like main hand weapons or something like that. But in the end I settle for generates a shield when used and inflicts poison on the enemy. Because I have poison synergy on the ice shards, so there's a chance, or not a chance. It's basically after I use one of them, the first one, then I'll just be doing extra damage with the ice shards for a little while, and that part doesn't matter when he becomes CC immune. But I literally didn't even get any use out of my Heart of Ice, because he just immediately gained resistance to the slow the very second I applied it. Like, I don't know, I feel like that's just a little bit too much CC resistance, if you ask me. But I mean, in all honesty, the DPS with the Rapier inflicting oil and the ice shards doing that is not... It's not like so insanely slow that I'm never gonna finish the fight. It's just significantly lower than I know it could be if it didn't. So, you know, maybe it's not completely terrible against bosses. And there is that nice window where you get to reset both your Giant's Whistles if they're not both up by the time you finish that elite phase. So you can, you know, just double blast the hand when you get the little chance to. So that's nice. It has its moments, even still. I'm getting tagged too much, but also he's not doing like any damage to me, so it doesn't really matter. It's something. But yeah, it wasn't a clean fight, but still really easy to just power through with Dead Inside and survival. Also got quite a couple of like offset scrolls, I think. At least a decent amount. So my health isn't looking too low. It's a lot lower than it would be on 1.8 at this point with how many scrolls I would have collected, plus the plus 50%. But, I mean, you know, enemies doing less damage. My health doesn't need to be as high as it normally would be. I gotta get used to like the different variables. There's the giant laugh. I gotta get used to all the different values and stuff like that. But yeah, Giant's Whistle is something I really appreciate having in the Astrolab, because the main point, like where I take damage is where I take unavoidable damage, I mean, is when I have a bomber and a librarian directly above me attacking out of sync and I'm nowhere near a wall. That's like the one situation that I really can't recover from. So Giant's Whistle just lets you deal with them immediately at the press of a button, and also give like a little slowdown to time to, you know, help you deal with it. And in that situation, the bomber wasn't directly above me when it slammed down, so it wasn't too big of a deal. But that sort of thing could have been bad. No, can't make it up that angle. Sorry to say. And of course, double Giant's Whistle just means that guy's toast immediately. Without even having to without even having to farm the cooldown at all. I think in the original 1.8 post, like, the guy was also using double Giant's Whistles. Well, guy or gal or other, of course. I can't assume. It's 2020. Time for assuming is long past. But whatever. They were using... I think they were using double Giant's Whistle, but they might have been using like Giant's Whistle and Powerful Grenade or something like that. I haven't seen the posts in a while, of course. But that's fine. And I want to find the Allen key before... Well, not I want to find. I have to find the Allen key before going all the way down there, because I would just get stuck by the lock and not be able to progress any farther forward, I mean. And that would be not so good. I mean, no real reason to take or not take it, because it deals the same amount of damage. But, it's newer. There's value in something being new. Just inherently. Even if it's not, like, accurate, I guess. Yeah, I've already got the 3 green stats, so I feel like that's more worth, especially considering my damage right now. That was... I didn't use my Giant's Whistle right away. I don't know if it was on cooldown or I was just like panicking a little bit, because slowed down Librarian is terrifying. It's like any really scary enemy with slowdown is a combo that strikes fear into my heart on a visceral level. One that I can't quite describe. I don't know if there will ever be a point in time where I'm not terrified of a slowed down Librarian. Something like that. Because like their attack pattern is hard to get used to, and I got used to it I got used to it in muscle memory, not like looking for tells or a reaction. Even though like the obvious tell is it glows yellow before they fire. But I rely more on like the sound cues, I guess, and just the general instinct not instinct, but my muscle memory really, than I do like reacting to the time when it's shooting. So that's why slow throws me off so much. It just throws a wrench in what I'm accustomed to doing. Because I've said it before, but like I feel like muscle memory is like the reason why I'm good at these games. I find it very easy to like put together these patterns and like remember how to dodge stuff. Because like when I first start playing a game, I suck at it. I'm like really bad. To the point where I'd get hit like all the time on the first level or something like that. I think, well, I don't have any recent examples because I haven't played any new games recently. I've mostly just been playing like the same old ones that I might have gotten like a little rusty in, but generally still remember how to play it. But yeah, it's the situations that aren't familiar where I struggle. When I mean, just literally just changing the variable of how fast the enemies are attacking is enough to just break my brain in a lot of situations. I've gotten used to it over the course of this run, and by gotten used to it, I meant assume that they're gonna die before they actually get the chance to hit me back, considering how slow they are. So just keep mashing and only roll only roll when things are looking like really close is basically my idea for that. And I'm going up to get this off scroll just because, like, more health. Shouldn't get hit on the way over there, but I do anyway, I guess. Overall, I probably netted more health than I lost, though. Not gonna do the math right now, but you know, it could be true. And the Guardian fight's gonna be really easy right here, or the Guardian Crows, because you can just do that basically. One of them lived, but not for long. And don't even have to go catch up the key, or catch up to the key that fell over there. Yeah. And we get to the collector fight with 57 minutes in the recording, which is not that bad. Also just taking a swig there so I have full max HP. Not really for any particular reason, aside from the fact that I don't want to have to pop disengagement early if I don't have to. Because, you know, that just makes it riskier than it needs to be. Because, like, when you get here with full potion charges, you might as well. Not gonna need all of them for the fight. I might have wanted to actually, I mean, not really for any particular reason, just to get the fight out faster, taking the healing one. What is it? Extended healing, that's what I mean. Because if I get extended heal, if I went for extended healing, then I would have been able to, if I went for extended healing, then I would have been able to use my potions to give me a DPS boost, helping me push through when my Giant's Whistles aren't available. Also, thankfully the Collector has significantly, the rate at which he builds up those stat resistance is significantly slower than the Hand of the King. So I managed to get a decent amount of damage out with my Giant's Whistles and the super fast, super cooldown reduction combo before he became resistant to it. Which, you know, it's pretty good. But yeah, looking back on this and seeing how, like, slowly his health bar is going down, it's kinda rough. I'm just glad that I considered, or that I had the, I guess foresight? I don't know if it's foresight, but basically I remembered that, like, basically I realized that the Rapier wasn't going to do much damage even with the survival scaling, I guess, without, like, the right setup in terms of, like, stats and stuff. So I was like, Alright, well I'm gonna probably have to rely on ice shards. Definitely for the early game, when if my rapier doesn't have the right color and stuff like that. But then I was like looking for oil on the rapier to apply it, get those nice crits. Because you can see the crits right now, they're doing solid damage. They're what's making like the big chunks in his health bar when the whistles are on cooldown. Even if they're not like giant. And then right here in his final phase, when his health zooms up, you can see he's really, really not taking damage. But that's fine, because I'm pretty sure he just doesn't take a lot of damage in this phase. And yeah, I have not been dodging very well. Definitely not the spins, but also like a lot of other stuff too. And I wanted to try just rolling through him for that phase, because normally I do like the strategy where you like you roll through it and then jump like right as your roll is ending, and then like roll back, and then run back, roll. It's difficult for me to explain in words right now, but you know it if you see it, and you did see it probably, because I think I dodged a couple of them like that, definitely in past videos. Oh yeah, and when it comes to that like slam attack, I find that most of the time you can just kind of jump. You can just kind of like keep jumping and you won't get hit most of the time. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, what I want to be doing there is rolling into the wall instead of rolling like away from it. And there's the big punches for the finish. So yeah, I said it before. I've said it a couple times. This build really good against dealing with basic enemies. The concept of it in general, like, you know, max attack speed to get as much use out of Heart of Ice as possible, it's pretty brilliant. I like it a lot. Giant's Whistle's super good. Doesn't do that great against bosses because they build up the resistance super easy. But it's a fun build. I recommend it if you're just out there looking for some fun time. But anyway, thanks so much for everybody for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. If you didn't, some constructive criticism would be appreciated. If you have any suggestions for runs you want to see me do, leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to get to them. See you in the next one.